All right, so pretend you're a landowner and you own this piece of land and you want to see if you can generate some revenue, help pay your taxes, but you don't want to do something that will inhibit your heirs to do the same thing 50, 60 years from now. So as a forester, that's the fine line you end up walking. Because any landowner, more often than not, people are looking to make the maximum dollar with the minimum amount of time put into it. So they have a forester put together a cutting plan that meets the law, minimum requirements of the law, and they end up cutting what's called the diameter limit. So anything that's a minimum size and up, they'll cut that. And usually that means that only the good stuff that's worth it, not some big gnarly thing that's not going to be able to be sawn up. So in this case, looking at this little micro stand here, we're looking at, you have this big white pine. It's nice and straight and tall. That's always has value. You have a nice big white oak behind us. Those are the two diameter limit trees that would get cut in that scenario. The maximum dollar, minimum concern about the future. And that's, so our cutting plans, that's called a short-term cutting plan, meaning you don't care, you're not giving any regard to the future of the forest beyond that. Yeah, trees will be able to grow there. You see there's lots of smaller trees. There's some red maple and some hemlock and some beech. Those are three of our lowest quality trees, lowest value trees. They have a lot of problems with form and rot and disease. But you'll have trees growing here, so there will be some forest habitat, but the next generation is going to have a hard time deriving value, and we're going to lose some of our important species like oak if you're not planning ahead to get more oak. So in this case, ironically, what most people have a hard time grasping is that to do the right thing in this case would involve cutting on these smaller trees and on a scale that's big enough to get something that's more desirable in terms of the landowner and their heirs and the future of this forest, like getting oak trees to regenerate. Oak like I said in the previous spot, oak needs a lot of sunlight for acorns to establish. So you're talking about at least a half acre to an acre of everything cut. As if you leave every little 2-inch tree you leave is going to turn into a 6-inch tree within a decade. So that doesn't give a lot of opportunity for a seedling to establish under a bigger brother, so to speak. So the long-term thinking actually involves something that might look more severe and extreme, but it actually involves more science. It involves more an intelligent decision to get somebody to actually cut that. There's somebody that a logger comes in here and is cutting all these small trees. They're taking time to do that, and they're not getting any product to bring back to the landing that they can sell. So that is a cost. That's why it doesn't get done. It might aesthetically look more pleasing, but the irony is that oftentimes aesthetically pleasing timber harvests might be ecologically devastating. Not always the case, but more often than not, in my experience, that seems to be the case.